at 7:17. I apologize for the lateness. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up is the approval of the agenda by Mrs. Rogalski, second by Mr. Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That vote is 5-0, and I'll note for the record that Mrs. Friedman and Mrs. Feather are not with us this evening. Next up is the consent agenda, the approval of minutes. Neither, which meeting?
The regular meeting of July 14th
Mhm. That's-
is here.
Yeah, that's the one we
Right,
have.
that's the one that we're going to approve.
All right, so the approval of minutes will only be from the regular meeting of July 14th, 2022. The approval of minutes from the executive session and the special meeting were not available, so those will not be voted on. We have the enrollment report from August 1st, 2022, the school police report of July 1st, 2022, the school bus inspection reports of August 1st of 2022, and the residency truancy report of 8/1/2022. Pleasure of the committee. By Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mr. DeMonica. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up, our personnel announcements, and I see Mrs. Duncanson's already there.
I have a number for you tonight. It is a lengthy list. Before I start, they will be all effective. The appointments that I will start listing will all be effective for the 22-23 school year, to save some time for effective dates. So first off, Julie Alfano, Special Education Coordinator for the district. Justin Kuntz, Dean of Students and School Culture for Cumberland High School. Karen Scarry, Special Education Coordinator for the district. Jillian Belanger, MLL and Tier 3 ELA Coordinator for the district. And new hire Tiffany Cozzolino, Assistant Principal of Teaching and Learning at Cumberland High School. Pamela Ayan, Special Educator ALP at Cumberland High School. Victoria Cleaver, Special Educator ICANN at Garvin. Caitlin Coyle, Special Educator ICANN at North Cumberland Middle School, 1 year only. Hannah Eckhart, ELA Essentials McCourt, 1 year only. Gabrielle Haydam, Grade 5, 1 year only. Garvin. Grace Henson, Special Educator Success at BF Norton. JC Maldonado Morales, MLL ELA Educator at McCourt. Carrie McNamara, Grade 5 Community, 1 year only. Robert Sagalio, Math Essentials, North Cumberland Middle School, 1 year only. Jennifer St. Germain, Special Educator Community. Jennifer Wazalowski, School Counselor at Community. Brianna Aguilar, Paraprofessional ICANN at Garvin. Karen Dubois, Clerical Assistant Tech at North Cumberland Middle School. Selena Flores, Paraprofessional 1-to-1 at Cumberland High School. Alicia Perry, Paraprofessional 1-to-1 at Cumberland High School. And John Stanford, Paraprofessional Job Coach at Cumberland High School. I have 4 unpaid personal leave of absences for you tonight for the 2022 to 2023 school year in its entirety. John Hoxie, Special Educator Strive at Cumberland High School. Colby O'Halloran, Math Grade 8 at North Cumberland Middle School. Cheryl Reedy, School Social Worker, McCourt and North Cumberland Middle School. And Kristen LaFerriere, Paraprofessional at Cumberland High School. Finally, I have a number of resignations for you tonight. Pamela Aiden, who we hired as a special educator, resigned Paraprofessional ALP at Cumberland High School. Megan Ramirez, Mathematics, Grade 7-8 at North Cumberland Middle School. Katie Vespia, Special Educator, McCourt. Jessica Gemma, ELA Essentials, North Cumberland Middle School, 1 year only. Cynthia Alexander, Library Media Specialist at Cumberland High School. Jessica Hebert, Paraprofessional Job Coach at Cumberland High School. And Edward Boudreau, Jr., Social Studies at Cumberland High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Duncanson. Next up is the report out of executive session meeting. There were no votes to report out. I need a vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. By Mrs. Rogalski, second by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton.
Mr. Chair, good evening. 4 items for you. First, there's been some discussion and confusion, I think, on an item brought up in the news cycle maybe a month and a half ago, maybe longer, about school safety. As you recall, after the tragedy in Texas, the news cycle was talking about districts getting up to $500,000 for school safety to use for the districts to do things like safety glass film, doors, et cetera. The challenge is, though, it's really not, I think, what was portrayed by some. We're not receiving $500,000 in a grant. If we were to have $500,000 in a line item, would be reimbursed 38% on that, or around $240,000. Now, as you know, we don't have $500,000 in a separate line item available for this, but we are still looking and making plans and working with the town to find ways to possibly get something done. We are getting pricing on the safety film for the glass in those common entry areas, and working with the town to see what we can do. But I just wanted you to know, and for the public, there's no $500,000 grant for Cumberland for safety. It's the reimbursable that we can get. So I just wanted to clear the record on that.
I do have a question, Dr. Thornton. If there ends up being like a timetable when we're able to recoup this money, would we be able to use some of the safety measures that we're putting into, say, Garvin? Would we be able to use that as additional reimbursement, or maybe in lieu of or something else?
I mean, I know right now we're already being reimbursed on those in the bond, so we have to have funds that aren't already in the bond or something that's not reimbursable. But yeah, anything we use towards this is reimbursable to 38%. Mr. Pignano, is that fair to say? Twice. Right. Yeah. That's item 1. Item 2, enrollment report. You have it in your packets just for the group. Overall, in total, right now, this year over last year, we're plus 34 elementary students. We're plus 17 at McCourt, plus 16 at North, down 21 at CHS. So total, overall, we're up 46 students from this year to last year. That can change, but we're still gaining students, as you can see. And as I told you last time, that's been a trend here in Cumberland, and it continues. In terms of enrollment, we keep watching it each week and with Ms. Carr, and we react to enrollments as far as where we can place them. And that kind of goes into our next topic, the parent transfer request. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I do have one question. Could we add to the enrollment report some kind of system of letting us know when students are not being able to go to their home school and will have to be transferred to a different school because of enrollment, because classes are capped out? We don't really see that information.
Yep.
If we could see that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. And to that point, if you look in your packet, you see the sheet you get every time. It looks like this. You'll see the words closed on some of them, and that's when that might happen, where you get a new person moving into town and the K is closed out, and that would happen. But yes, we can do that. First week in August every year, we do the transfer request process. We did that last week. We had 56 requests. We were able to approve 52. And people often ask, how do we do that? What's the method? We basically look at the numbers and try to balance the buildings. So, for example, if BF is at 26 and 25 in grade 1, and we have some requests that want to go to Garvin, we would approve those to get that number down. And conversely, we would do the other way if those numbers were high. So we try to keep them within the contractual limits, and also just balance the different buildings. What hasn't happened yet, what might happen soon, I think, in Cumberland is we've yet to have a whole grade level maxed out, like say grade 1 across all 5 elementaries be maxed, but we are getting close in some. Right now, kindergarten, as of today, 3 of the 5 buildings are maxed. We have some slots still at Community and Garvin, but we are pretty tight in kindergartens. That's something we're seeing. Also, grade 1 and grade 2 are fairly tight in 3 buildings. So you can see grades 3, 4, and 5 have some space. But overall, we are trying to balance that, and we're happy to approve, like I said, 93% of the people who wanted to change, we could do that. And as you know, if they do change buildings, the transportation will be something that they have to take care of. So that's the story on that. And our constant topic, school construction really is picking up speed. We now have 4 venues we talk about. Cumberland Hill is the push to the finish. As you know, we are getting control of most of the building back on August 26th. Right now, we're waxing the classrooms, getting those ready for furniture. Furniture comes in the next week, 10 days. The common area ceilings are being finalized. That nice wood ceiling we talked about, that's being finished. The new sidewalk is in. As you pull into the parking lot on the left, there's a brand new sidewalk that went in last week. The front vestibule is in, the glass, the front door, the front entryway to the office area, that's all in. The new PA was being tested today as we were over there. The one area, as I told you last time, the cafeteria or the old gym, we located those 3 beams up top that had some problems, so we are still looking to get that corrected, but that'll mean we will not use that location for at least, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks in September. So we're looking at alternate plans for lunch, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in other locations, but working with the union to figure out how we're going to do that. But we don't have an exact date yet, but they're working quickly to get the remedy for the beams. We think right now they're going to sister the beams, they call it. Take a beam and a new beam, put them together, and that secures the location. And they're doing all 3 beams they identified, so that's happening. So that's Cumberland Hill. At Garvin, we had a kickoff meeting today. We met with the Collins, our same company, and talked about Garvin and what's going to happen there. Community, if you've been over there, you've seen the playground. They did dig out the base, if you will, and they put in like a substrate, and now they'll put playground chips over that. They also made the access road for construction next to the playground. That's in place, and they have the fencing up. That's all happened. Ashton's still in the process of getting the gate work up. That's kind of where that is. So all 4 locations, things are happening, and it's getting to be quite a big undertaking. But it is exciting seeing Cumberland Hill coming to the end. So that's exciting to see. We do expect some kind of ribbon cutting ceremony before September 6th. That's our first day of school. So we'll try to get something out there as we get closer to figure out when we can get everyone in there. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Very exciting that we're starting all these new projects and wrapping up Cumberland Hill. Next up is the report of the standing committees. The first up is Mr. Collins with the Fiscal Management Subcommittee update.
Good evening. The Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. We have payment of the bills in the amount of $1,735,748.32, and we have 9 resolutions to present before the committee this evening. There's really nothing major to report out of that other than stuff we're going to talk about this evening. So, thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Policy and Procedures was unable to meet. We did schedule a meeting, but we were not able to meet on Tuesday night, and Achievement and Communications had not scheduled a meeting also that night. And District Health does not meet until the fall, correct? All right. Next is the comments from the public. If anyone from the public would like to speak. All right, seeing none. Next, new business. First item is discussion and/or vote to approve flyer for participation in Project Strong Health Research Study. I will turn this over to you, Mrs. Rogalski.
Yes. So tonight, we are revisiting after the June Health and Wellness Committee meeting I reported out. I'm on. After the June Health and Wellness Committee meeting, I reported out on Dr. Hauk coming and speaking to the committee about Project Strong, which is a research project that they are looking to pair with Cumberland schools for specifically the middle schools. It is a project that targets middle school boys specifically, and they are looking to basically, they're running 2 different programs side by side, and we're looking at the effect on dating violence later as they get older. It was in full agreement with the committee that it would be a wonderful project to participate in. It had the support of Dr. Masterson as well as Mrs. Patton, who was in attendance from the middle schools, and we all seem to think it was a really good idea. I've passed it on to Dr. Thornton. He is also in favor of it, but we also have Dr. House here, Dr. Hauk here to give us a little bit more information about it as well. So I'm going to turn it over to him now.
This is NIH-sponsored research. I'm a psychologist at Rhode Island Hospital, and this is a project that we've been doing for a few years now. As was summarized, this is looking at a couple of intervention programs that we've developed. Most of the research I do is around risk prevention for middle schoolers, and we're always looking at what are the best programs for doing that. And both of these programs that we're testing are programs that adolescent boys would do with a parent. They sit down and they do a tablet-based intervention with a parent side by side. We sit down with families before they're enrolled in the research and explain all the procedures of the research so that everybody's providing informed consent before they participate. And we're really looking at two programs, as Amy summarized, to look at what are the impacts over a couple of years during these really crucial middle school years when people are starting to explore relationships. How do we foster skills that we think will diminish violent behaviors in relationships as people get older? And so that's really the purpose of the study. I'm happy to answer more detailed questions. I don't want to take up a bunch of time, but I also want to make sure that everybody feels good about what we're doing.
How many participants do you hope to take part in the survey?
So the total across the project is 380, but we have other school districts participating as well.
Thank you for coming in. How do you identify students to participate? Is it a volunteer basis? Does administration or maybe guidance recommend students to participate in this program? Do you have some sort of criteria you're looking for, demographic you're looking for?
Yeah, great question. Right now we're doing this as a universal program for those who identify as boys. And so it's really open to any family who has a son in the middle school years. We're not doing any kind of targeted recruitment based on kind of referrals from staff. So it's really, we hand out flyers to everybody, and then families that are interested contact us, and then we meet with them outside of school.
Anyone else? Dr. Hauk?
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate it, and good luck with your survey.
Thank you.
Dr. Thornton, would you like to add anything?
Wondering, is that requiring a vote, Mr. Adams, or is there,
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Collins.
Dr. Houken, you don't have to, you can just nod or yell or whatever, sorry. How long will it take for you to receive your findings? And would you be willing to come back and present to the committee your findings based on things that are, that pertain to Cumberland? Perhaps maybe if there's any sort of, if you can identify something that Cumberland's doing well, or maybe there's a deficiency, I think the committee would like to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly based on your study. I know it's part of a statewide initiative, but as it pertains to Cumberland, which is obviously what we are
Yeah.
here, that's our charge.
Yeah, so we don't do analyses like where we pull kids out of specific schools. I'd be happy to come back and talk about the project and the findings of what we learned from the study for everybody, but we don't say of the 20 families in Cumberland who participated, here's what happened. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Thank you. So in that case, we will need a motion to approve this. By Mrs. Rogalski,
Second.
second by Mr. Collins. All in favor? Aye. Aye, passes 5-0. Next is the discussion and/or vote on the memorandum of agreement intended to resolve all disputes with the CTA involving the payment of the 1% COVID bonus under the current CBA. I will turn this over to Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Wow. That's why I don't talk at meetings. I've given it a second. Am I on? All right. As the committee knows, but for the public's benefit, this relates to a grievance that was filed by the CTA on behalf of 3 CTA members who were not awarded a bonus for the 2020-2021 school year. And the backdrop for this is that when the CTA and the members of the administrative team, school committee team were negotiating what is now the current collective bargaining agreement, the collective bargaining agreement that began on September 1, 2021, and runs through, I guess, August 31 of, if I'm getting my dates right, but it's 21 to 24. We just completed the first year. About a year ago, when we were negotiating that, there was not going to be any money for a raise for the CTA. So in the 2021-2022 school year, the salaries were going to remain exactly what they were for the prior year, which was 2020-2021. Trying to work collaboratively with the CTA, the management's team and the CTA team developed the possibility of a bonus, a 1% bonus for certain eligible CTA members. From the administrative team's perspective, that bonus would be paid to people who, as a thank you for the work done in the 2020-2021 school year, meaning that these were folks who were working in the school district, they were employees already of the Cumberland School Department, they were going to be employed in the year that just passed, 21-22, and that they were on the payroll at the end of the year. So there was a very clear understanding on the management team's perspective of what the bonus was supposed to, who it was supposed to reward. The CTA apparently had a different view of it, which became apparent when the bonuses were paid, because not every single CTA member received a bonus. So discussions began to ensue because there were several CTA members. It was still a relatively small number of the total CTA members, but there were discussions that ensued between Dr. Thornton and his team and the CTA executive board about the difference of opinion and the disconnect between what the actual contract language said and what the intent was. As a result of what became the last of these meetings, the superintendent and his team thought that it had been resolved, the issue had been resolved, with payment being made to certain CTA members, but the three grievance who are grievance in the case that I'm talking about not being paid. And the stumbling block was that from the administrative team's perspective, CTA members who were working less than half the year, there was a recognition that those folks should not be paid this bonus, but the administrative team was willing to pay people, even though they technically didn't qualify, who had worked more than 90 days. That was the resolution that the administrative team thought had been reached. That understanding was memorialized in a letter to the CTA, and 2 weeks went by and we did not hear from the CTA that, hey, this is not our understanding, or, yep, we're all in agreement. We didn't hear anything. What we did get was, on the day that some of the members who had not yet been paid actually got paid, we got this grievance. So from the management's perspective, I think the concern was we memorialized our understanding, which included paying certain people, which we thought we didn't need to pay, and then when those people were paid, you filed a grievance with respect to the grievance who are at issue in this case. So it was a bit of a difficult situation from the administrative team's perspective to deal with a grievance when they thought that the matter had been resolved. In any event, the grievance went through this body, and the school committee voted to deny the grievance. We are now in arbitration. And really, from the moment arbitration began, I can tell you that I have been trying to resolve it, because it's not a lot of money at issue, and the costs of litigation are much greater than what the costs of simply paying these grievances would be. But the concern was that if you're going to have open dialogue between the superintendent and his team and the CTA, and you're going to have writings that go back and forth memorializing things, when there is a disconnect, if there is a disconnect, those things need to be brought to the administrative team's attention immediately before a grievance is brought. And that was a concern, a big concern by the superintendent and his team. In any event, I tried to get this thing resolved with the CTA by proposing all manner of memorandums of understanding, memorandums of agreement that would resolve it. I still do not have that agreement, which makes tonight's event somewhat unique. We usually, if this body is going to be approving something, we generally have an idea that the CTA will agree to it. I don't know whether they will or not, but it is my hope that if the committee approves this, what it will mean as a practical matter for the three grievance, and there are 3 CTA members who all worked less than 90 days during that calendar year and who are the grievance in question, what it will mean if this body approves this memorandum of agreement is that if the CTA will sign off on it tomorrow, the next day, soon, then those grievance can be paid immediately, which I understand is as quickly as next Friday. If the CTA does not approve it, then we have an arbitration scheduled for the end of November, which we feel, I think the administrative team feels strongly the administrative team will win, but in any event, there will be a long period of time between that arbitration and when we may get a decision on that arbitration, and meanwhile, these CTA members will not be paid. So the goal here is to try to just put this thing to bed, so to speak. If you will approve it, hopefully the CTA will do the same, and then these grievance can be paid forthwith, would I think be the legal way someone would say it. So that's my long song and dance, and I hope I kept it as short as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Any comments from the school committee or questions for Mr. Adams? In that case, I would ask for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Smith. Oops, sorry. Second by Ms. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Next is the discussion and/or vote to approve the fee schedule for services provided by the Barton Gilman Law Offices, represented here by Mr. Adams. Dr. Thornton, I will give this to you.
Currently before the committee, we have a recommendation to approve an increase of 2.5% for the fee structure for Barton and Gilman. Knowing what the market value is for this in Rhode Island, I think it's an extremely fair dollar amount, so I recommend passage.
Yeah, I believe this is the second increase in the 10 years that I've been on the school committee. And both increases were very small, quite honestly. I would also ask for a motion to approve this. By Mrs. Rogalski, second by Mr. DeMonica. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next. We have reached the discussion and or vote to approve the resolutions. Mr. Collins. Am I missing something? I'm sorry. I didn't want to pay the superintendent, I guess. We have a discussion and or vote to approve the superintendent's salary for the 2022-2023 school year. We did discuss this in executive, and I believe that we will be tabling this. So if somebody would like to make a motion to table, Mrs. Rogalski, thank you. By Ms. Smith. And all in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0 to table until more than likely our next meeting. In that case, now we are at the discussion and our vote to approve the resolutions. Mr. Collins.
Yes, we have 9, I beg your pardon, 10 resolutions before the committee, all of which you have SCPR-8-2023-93 through SCPR-8-2022-101, all 102, I beg your pardon. All 10 resolutions passed Fiscal Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins moves passage of all 10 resolutions. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Demotica, and I keep hitting the microphone, I apologize. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. Next is the discussion and/or vote to approve the payment of bills. Mr. Collins.
Yes, we have payment of the bills in the amount of $1,735,748.32. This also passed Fiscal Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move full passage to the full committee.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? By Mr. Demotica. All in favor? Aye, passes 5-0. The payment of bills is paid. Next is the school committee comments, the school liaison reports. Does anyone have anything to offer? Mrs. Rogalski.
Not, not specifically about schools, but I did want to send out a congratulations to the Cumberland Little League team for competing in the Little League World Series. Anyone who has had a child in rec sports knows just how much work goes into it by the players, the coaches, and the parents. And I know it wasn't the result that they wanted, but we are very, very proud of you, and we think you guys did a great job. So congratulations for making it as far as you did.
I just want to wish all of the teachers well with Cumberland Hill moving back to your new school over the next few weeks. Is going to be quite exciting as we get into the ribbon cutting. And then, of course, welcoming Garvin, and I see a lot has started to move in for the Garvin students and teachers here in the transitional building. So we're all hoping for a great success in all those transitions.
I would like to just add a couple things. As you know, the mayor's office and his team of people had won a grant for $100,000 to renovate the B.F. Norton playground, which has long been in need of being replaced. The town council recently just passed the approval to spend up to, I believe, $220,000 thereabouts. And I'd like to thank the town council for that. What this will do is enable the B.F. Norton to have a state-of-the-art, fully handicap accessible playground with no more mulch. And this will be really, it'll end up being the gem of the playgrounds in the town, and really, I believe, a benchmark for all playground construction for the future. So thank you very much for everyone involved in that. Also, B.F. Norton has been having trouble with their parking lot for the last few years. It was exacerbated last year when we reduced the number of buses and increased the number of parents dropping off. Luckily, we had a deal, we were able to reach an agreement with Mr. Cole from Cole's Department Stores, who actually owns the bank next door. He was letting us use that parking lot for free. Since then, the Mayoral Academy has leased that building, and there was some issue as to whether or not we were going to be able to have enough spaces to be able to use. They first said one number, and then it got reduced drastically. But I had a conversation with the mayor to ask if we could do some work on that on the parking lot. Dr. Thornton, myself, Mrs. Lerivier from B.F. Norton, the principal of B.F. Norton, and I wish I knew everyone's name that attended that meeting from the mayor's side. But everyone's met. We discussed what could be done to increase the size of that parking lot, because most of it is town-owned property around it. And if anyone has passed through there, they will have seen that some trees have been getting cut, some brush has been getting cleared away, some excavation, and the town is taking care of all of this parking lot issue that'll be resolved before the start of school. And I just personally want to say thank you to Mayor Mutter, as I'm sure the faculty and staff at B.F. Norton will be very appreciative, as well as all the parents that have to, go through that parking lot for drop-off.
Mr. Firo.
Yes, Mr. DeMonica.
I would just like to piggyback on the comment about the playground at B.F. Norton. The mayor did indicate at the town council meeting he thought that the school department could apply for those grants as well for our playgrounds. And if we could reach out to the mayor's office and get the name of the grant writer, and maybe we can hire that person for the school department to write grants for those as well. I just wanted to piggyback on that.
Sounds good, Dr. Thornton. I'm sure you'll take care of that. And Mrs. Rogalski?
Just one more thing, a reminder to families that this year the free lunch program is ending, where they were giving all lunches for free. If your financial situation has changed, it's possible that you might now qualify for free lunches. So as that paperwork starts to come home, please make sure that you are looking at it as a family and filling out needed forms.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention that on August 27th at BF Norton is the back-to-school backpack event, where they'll be handing out backpacks full of school supplies, so families are welcome to go there on that day and pick up some school supplies for free. Thank you. Anyone else? In that case, I will need a motion to adjourn. Oh, do we have an executive session?
We do not.
Not. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Rogalski, second by Mr. DeMonica. All in favor? Aye. 5-0. We stand adjourned at 7:53.